Today my guest is Poppy Smith.
I begged him to show me a way that irreconcilable differences was somewhere hidden in Scripture, but I couldn't find it.
Welcome to Heritage of Truth. Today my guest is Poppy Smith, and she has written a really interesting book called Why Can't He Be More Like Me? 9 Secrets to Understanding Your Husband. Now, the divorce rate in this country, even among Christians, is close to 50%, isn't it?
That's what I understood from my research, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And that was what motivated me, along with my own life experience, to write this book, to encourage women to run to the Lord instead of running away when they reach the end of their rope in their marriage. Perhaps, they just can't get along with their husbands. Maybe they're both irritable with each other. They don't understand each other. She thinks, what is his problem? He thinks, what is her problem? And there's generally a tension quite frequently in the marriage. And women today just don't want to put up with that.
Wow. Well, tell us a little bit about your experience that you just referred to.
Well, I'm from England, and I lived in Nairobi. My father was in the British Air Force, and I moved there just as a brand new Christian at the age of 17, and I supported myself from that age and met my husband at a very little British church in Nairobi. And he is an American from Iowa and was raised on a farm, raised in a very conservative church. I knew nothing about this. We got married. I had not met his family. I'd never been to America. He had not met my family. He had never been to England. So we married, and 2 weeks later we left to come to America. And he, as a doctor, vanished into the hospital for his 5-year residency training in surgery. And I ended up being alone and so lonely and so angry because he was never there, and I knew no one in the whole country except him.
Oh, wow.
But more than that, he's 10 years older, he was the oldest son, and I found that we just couldn't understand each other. We processed things differently. I said something and he heard something else, and I felt abandoned, and I became very angry and was up and down emotionally, and finally got to a point after 3 or 4 years where I just said to the Lord, I can't go on like this. I can't go on being explosive in my temper, which was my mother's model, a non-Christian, very passionate woman, but very explosive, and I learned that. And my husband went into his usual way of behaving, which was from his parents' model, which was to withdraw. So neither of us knew how to reach the other in our individual pain. And I just cried out to the Lord. I begged him to show me a way that irreconcilable differences was somewhere hidden in Scripture, but I couldn't find it so that I could leave. And instead the Lord gave me the distinct word that I needed to stay, that his word to me was, divorce is not where I want you to go. I want you to run to me instead of running away. And that was a pivotal point in my walk with God. But I'd been married a long time, and it is improved, but we are still very different people and still clash quite a bit on many issues. But we're learning how to handle those differences without being destructive.
Now, I'm sure a lot of the differences relate to the differences in your upbringing, different countries and so forth. Mm-hmm. But for our viewers, a lot of them are going to have differences just because one's a male and one's a female. Can you speak to those differences?
Yes. I do talk about that. There's a chapter, Our Brains Are Wired Differently. And in the brain research that's going on nowadays, we find even more evidence that men and women are created differently. We are not the same. And there's different hormones and chemicals and different things. Men have testosterone, women have estrogen. Testosterone makes men more aggressive, more independent, more wanting to conquer. Estrogen produces in women a longing for relationships and other things, and various other chemicals. But we are made differently, and there's a lot in the differences that come from our physical makeup. Women are mentally, through their brain design, more relational. They want to talk more. Women expand when they speak. Men tend to edit when they speak. Women feel they're not listened to. Men think, when is she going to stop? And so there can be hurt feelings there and lack of understanding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know that communication was probably the most difficult thing for my husband and me when we first got married. And
Yes.
every now and then it still is,
Yeah.
after 35 years.
Yeah.
So other than communication, are there any other issues that?
Yeah, finance is
Oh,
a big reason why people split today.
Mm-hmm.
They just fight, and with our current economy, of course, you've got all the issues of losing your job and foreclosures and bills and things which create tension. But I talk about what does money mean to you, and I don't know if you've ever asked yourself or asked your spouse, what does money mean to you? Because money can mean fun. So you get some money, you have a bonus or whatever, and you get money, and to one person it can be, oh wonderful, let's go shopping, or let's go buy this, or let's upgrade that. Another way of looking at money might be its security. Oh no, we're not going to spend it, we're going to save it. We're going to save all of it. So the one who's the spender is all frustrated because the saver, wants to take control and do that. Another way of looking at money is it's a power thing. So the one who earns the most money has the most say over how it's used, which creates tensions, obviously. And then another way...
What would be the solution for that?
That you have to talk about and respect one another and say, okay, this is how you feel about it, and this is how I feel about it. We are both equals in this marriage, and we both need to defer and consider one another. So it's a talking about things, and I stress that throughout the book. That, and in fact, I give quizzes and questions so that you can put down your thoughts, or how were you raised, or what did your parents model in various areas. And then what about his? So that you can open your eyes and say, oh, no wonder. And that helped me a great deal after the initial very strong desires to run away, when I just said to the Lord, help me grow in this. And one of the first things I started thinking was, look at our backgrounds. I mean, no wonder we're so different. One raised in a rural environment, the other in a global, highly stimulating environment, and so on. But I think learning to think about the other and your own backgrounds and your personality types, I talk about that. All these things, the more you know about yourself and know about your spouse, the more you can understand. That doesn't mean you don't then have to move on to some sort of solution, but at least you understand instead of getting exasperated with, why is he not like me? When we expect the other person to be like us. That's automatic.
Right. Yeah, and it's opposites that attract.
Yes.
So, why don't you give a little piece of advice and maybe some hope to someone a woman especially, who is feeling like you felt, a little bit hopeless and wanting to just quit?
Well, my advice, if you're a follower of Jesus Christ, is that you go to him, first of all, and you say, Lord, I want to please you. And we made vows before God. And in today's culture, people don't keep their vows. We just walk away. And perhaps you've also bought into the culture's view that happiness is more important than anything else. But the Lord wants to work in us. And I know for me, it was a pivotal point where I chose to live before him, whether my marriage was happy or not. And it has become something I never dreamed it would be. Not happy, but satisfying, and to a place where I respect and honor my husband. And I would just encourage you, if you're in a similar situation, just frustrated, irritated, wondering if the next marriage might be happier, to just go back to the Lord and say, make me who you want me to be, so that when I stand before you, I can say, Lord, I did all I could to honor you in my marriage.
And when you do that, your marriage is usually improved.
Yes, yes.
Definitely.
Yes, yes.
Well, where can people find you on the internet?
I'm at www.poppysmith, POPPYSMITH.com.
Okay, and thank you so much for being my guest
Thank
today.
you. I've enjoyed it very much. Thanks.